If you're unfamiliar with the rules of imports in the European League of Football, it's pretty simple. You got A players, which are Canadian, American, and Japanese athletes. You got E players, which is Europeans that are not of the country of your team's residence, as well as Australians and New Zealand players. Another caveat is where you started playing football is the nationality that you are assigned in the European League of Football. Me, for example, started playing football in the UK, would be a UK player. Amadou Diestro is a good example. He's Spanish-German, started playing in Germany, so he is a German player, so he counts as an E for the Spanish team. The Vienna Vikings are one of the most iconic teams in the European League of Football. Just 2 years ago, they won a championship. Last year, they went undefeated until they ultimately lost in the playoffs. They recently fucked their logo, but that's a topic for another video. However, they do have a very solid base of Austrian players, and they've invested heavily just around the team. It is very solid if we're going to look at those 10 players today. The first player I want to get into is Kari Pajarinen. I've been a fan of Kari for a while, probably since he was at Helsinki. He is a dynamic back. He's about 5'10", 215, give or take. He shows great potential. He isn't the fastest straight line speed guy, but he has good BC vision. He can really make a hole for himself, and he can burst through. He just, doesn't have that breakaway speed. He's good in space and his solid awareness as well, and ultimately cuts pretty well with his jump cut. But I would like to see maybe a bit more diversity with his moveset. But for me, he is one of the best 25 and under running backs. He split carries 3 ways last year with the Wigan brothers, and ultimately led up with 560 yards, 4 touchdowns, and just a tad over 5 yards per carry at 4.87. Didn't fumble the ball, kept it safe. I think this year he's going to have quite a big step up into this. He was this last year. I think this year he can really be a bell cow running back. I'm a big fan of Kari, and I think that give him, because he only had 115 attempts, and he started in 6 games, played in 9. Might be with niggling injuries and such, or maybe they just rested him. If he has a full season under his belt, he could be one of the league's best rushers, and I do generally believe that. One established European Vienna Viking to another, Jordan Boer. I love Jordan Boer. I think he's one of the best receivers in Europe. He is Italian. He's played with Ottawa Red Blacks a few years back. In 2023, he had a slight dip in production. In 2022, he had 680 and 6 touchdowns. In 2023, he had 654 and 6 touchdowns, so slightly less, a little less on his catch percentage as well. And that's a big thing for me. He does drop footballs. As a receiver, that's obviously quite unacceptable, but his routes are sharp. He's dynamic as a kick returner. He has massive big playability, and he's been an all-star. He was a second-team all-star in 2022, so I think that quite clear for me that he could do it again. He is one of my favourite receivers overall as a European, and do enjoy studying his games, but those drops, man, they have hurt him in the past. I would like to continue through the receivers that we have here. We have Weston Carr next, an American receiver. I was a bit harsh on Weston in some of my other videos because I wasn't sure if he was as good as someone like Malik Stanley or Terrell Robinson or a Jarvis McClam. I don't see him in that kind of caliber of player. He doesn't block particularly well. He is really good with the ball in his hands, but I don't see him in the kind of range of those American receivers that are top of the league when it comes to multiple stats. He has 636 yards last year, 5 touchdowns on about the same percentage as Jordan Boer. And Jordan Boer is a European receiver, and I think for an American you're kind of held to a higher standard. Does he start on most teams? Yes. But is he as good as some of the American contemporaries? Not in my opinion. So I'm going to probably put him here. I think his route running is solid. He does need a bit more sharpness. His start-stop when it comes to hitches and stuff like that is maybe not where it needs to be. We'll continue the trend of American Xavier Edwards, Weapon X. Everywhere you look, he is there. He's played at running back, safety, corner, kick returner, punt returner. Best at safety. He covers so much ground when moving forwards. Laterally, he also does, but for me, forwards movement is definitely where he sees his most success. As a corner, his hips are not elite enough for me to be an elite cover corner. Tackling as well, sometimes some angles are kind of poor. He has no problem hitting someone, and he definitely does. He'll jump in, but sometimes his angles can be a little bit off. He was an all-star last year in 2023, and for me, I can see him repeating. He's such an elite kick returner and punt returner. Big play player. It's really what he is. He can make a big play of anything. wherever he is on the field, he can make a big play. Saw it with the local Panthers game, just immediately gets a pick, and then huge tackle, and then tackle for a loss. Like, he's there. And he's one of just my favourite players just to watch on tape, because you never really know where he's going to be. He keeps you active. Some players, he's going to line up in the slot, he's going to line up in the slot, next play, and then next after that. But with Xavier, you need to always be looking out for number 7, and that's why I enjoy looking at his tape so much. He's getting a little older, 32 now, so maybe we'll see a decline in athleticism. I doubt it, though. I mean, it's an argument that has to be had, but I think that because of his athleticism, I think that he is going to be in line for another All-Star selection. While on the topic of Vienna All-Stars, Matthew Daltrey, Scottish centre. I love Matt. He's great, and I think that he is one of the best centres in the league. I think Europe kind of struggles with centres in general, but he is one of the ones that does stand out by the rest. He was an All-Star last season. He is a great anchor, great leverage. He is only about 6 foot, so he wins a lot of the leverage battles. The problem with him being only 6 foot is that sometimes his punch separation isn't elite, and he has shorter length in his arms, which is natural. He's also not elite level in space and as a pulling player. However, anchors superbly. Going to be a big part of the run game when it comes to getting these two guys involved, and I think that he's an underrated part on a fantastic offensive line for Vienna. They've got so many pieces in Austria that are just brilliant. So I think he's a key piece of it, and he's been an All-Star, so we're going to keep him an All-Star again. Another Finnish player. Vienna seem to like their Finnish players this year. We're going to go with Toni Koskinen. He is an offensive lineman. He used to play for the Raiders. He's now moving to the Vienna Vikings. He's listed 6'3", 288, so he is on a slightly more lean side for an offensive lineman, especially a tackle. He is aggressive. He has active hands. He can get out of the blocks fairly well, but the big thing with him is pad level and dipping his head. I've said before, dipping his head is a big thing that I don't like when it comes to offensive linemen, because it restricts vision, and it's going to affect you at some point during the season. He also kind of struggles with more physically dominant defensive ends, someone who's going to really put their hands on you, like a Carl Kitchens. So with him coming into Vienna, where they're going to have some of these talented post players, Dusan Ivanovic being one of them, and James Brooks being another who's going to put their hands in his chest. And can he deal with that? I guess we'll see. But for me, I'm going to put him here, just because of the anchor and the head dipping and the pad level. When he comes across a really experienced defensive lineman, he has had issues in the past. We saw that at the Raiders last year. So it's a good signing. It really does help with this offensive line. It does improve the offensive line, but that offensive line is already really, really good. So for him going to be on it, they're not going to go at Alexander Milanovic. They're going to go after him. So he's going to have to improve really, really quickly. One person that might help him improve in practice is Jan-Philipp Bombach, one of the best pure pass rushers in the league. That's the thing, though. He's only a pass rusher. Doesn't have his hand in the dirt like at all. Like all the tape I watched, like I don't think he touches the ground once with his own hand. Does have really, really long hands, has a really nice rip move, has some good bend. I'd like to see maybe a bit of a deeper rush back with him, because he can just kind of hit and then wait and then nothing happens and he just kind of starts pushing. Not even like a bull rush, just starts pushing. Of course, last season he came back from Hamburg. He was at Hamburg in 2021. He went to Leipzig, came back to Hamburg. Had a very good season. 9.5 sacks in 12 total games. Slight dip off from his first year, but the offensive linemen are a lot better this year, so I don't really put that much weight into it. Also a block kick and a couple of forced fumbles. That's one thing he's added into his arsenal the last few years, his ability to get the ball out. The play against the Cologne Centurions was fantastic. So for me, I'm going to put him as an all-star level player. He has been an all-star level player in the past. In 2023, he was a second team all-star. So, no question, one of the best pass rushers. And he's going to help this defense and the offensive tackles really improve. I said in the comments of my last video that the Finnish are in a golden generation. And we see it coming through here. And this is certainly not the last you'll see of Finnish players on this channel. I'm going to do some videos on some Finnish athletes. Amiri Lalo is the most recent. He is listed as a cornerback. He's also 6'4", so he's a huge, huge DB. He can play, which means he can play in the nickel. He can play as an outside. He can play as safety. He can play as an outside linebacker because he's listed at 210 as well. Just elite level size that he can play anywhere in the defense. He managed to get himself 3 picks and 7 breakups last year, and for me, his length is just unmatched with anyone. He's very much Tony Anderson in his length. I know I've used that comparison a lot with longer athletes. Tony Anderson, insert longer athlete here, but there aren't very many of them. That's the straight up story. Does need a little bit more speed. His reaction time can be a little bit slow, and I would like to see his trigger get faster, but when you're so big and have to move so much, mass, that sometimes that could be an issue. Between here, I think as a European corner goes, I think I'm probably going to put him here. I have that much faith in Lalo. I think he's very underrated. If I hadn't done 3 huge videos on DBs already, I probably would do a video on him. And I can't wait to see what he does this year. I absolutely can. I think he was nominated for Defensive Rookie of the Year last season with Darren. I was ultimately winning. Probably going to do a video on Darren too, so we'll look out for that one. Overall, super happy that he's come back and that the team had faith in him, because, boy, he's so talented. I think that he's going to be seriously good this season. Hunter Nichols was a player that I was not really very aware of. University of San Diego safety. He's kind of been real close to the NFL, so for me, you can kind of guess where I'm going to go with this. I very much like him. He has crazy special teams value, big play player with Xavier Edward. Both of them making big plays in that safety position or the corner position is going to be huge. As a special teams, for the Vienna Vikings, please watch it this year. It's going to be fantastic. He's super physical in tackling. Come down, tackle running backs. He can tackle receivers. He can tackle tight ends. I have no problem with him tackling anyone. And for me, there's a play in this highlight reel that I'll show at the very beginning, but he storms down on a 4th and 2 and just makes a great play. So for me, I'm a big fan of him, and I think that he's going to be an all-star. I reckon he's probably got the best chance of any Vienna Viking to be an all-star. Safety is such a competitive market, but he's just a damn good fucking player. Actually, on second thought, because it is such a receiver-focused and defensive end, I'm probably going to put Matt up there too. I know you've been waiting for this one, Alex. I know this is why you tuned in, so I'm going to put Ben Holmes now. The kind of narrative is that I haven't liked Ben Holmes at all, which isn't the case. I think that he's very careful with the ball, doesn't have many turnovers. He only had 3 interceptions in his last season at Tarleton State, D2 school. He did have he did have 2 turnovers with the Sea Lions in the summer league, but overall has a lot of passing touchdowns. He did dominate at D2 level, which I've said before. I like it when players dominate at a lower level. If they kind of do well, then it doesn't show enough of them. It's accuracy, man. He never went up. He never ever got above 60%, and he struggles with a step up in competition. We saw it in the CFL. We saw it in the summer league that he doesn't perform necessarily as well when he's playing better players, and when he's going to be playing people that touch the NFL or CFL or NFL IPP combines, he might struggle. He has an excellent offensive line. He has some really good receivers. He has a great running back. The tools are there. It's just, can Ben Holmes put it together? Would I put him above a Chad Jeffries? No. A Jadrian? No. A Zach Edwards? No. Hennessy? No. So I'm going between star and role player. I would start him for some teams. I wouldn't start him for all. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, so I'm going to have to put him in here. For me, personally, he can blow the roof of this place, clip this and call me an idiot. That's fine by me. However, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback this year. He might be in terms of success and wins, but in terms of individual performance, I'm struggling to see it. But that'll do the Vienna Vikings team this year. Overall, I'm a big fan of it. I love it. I think they've got 2 massive playmakers in safety. They've got foundations on the offensive line. They've got a great edge rusher. They've got some young, talented DBs and running backs, finished talent all over the field. And they've got a quarterback that I think can do the job behind his weapons. Could see another undefeated season. I think that they are there for the taking when it comes to Rogue Law. That's what I think. I've done a Rogue Law video already. I'll link that in a card and I'll also put it in the description for their tier list. But if you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe. Nearly 1,000 subscribers. We are very close. Much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in once again to these tier lists. These have been great. They've been my highest performing ones by far. And I do love making them because they're just so fun. And I like talking about all these players. I work at a place where I don't really get to talk about all my favourite year left stuff. I get to talk about full football all day, which I love and I fucking adore. But when it comes to ELF, I got Jadrian Clark, I got Keanu, and that's just people I just talk to. Or at, I think is probably a better, talk at, I think is probably more of a accurate representation. But if you enjoyed this one, thank you for staying around for my ramblings at the end like I tend to do. Thank you much. See you later. Goodbye.